You have me, Sam?
You can mute yourself right now till we get started.
Good evening. My name is Christy Savakinas, and I am the Director of Technology at Pittston Area School District. I would like to welcome everyone to our virtual school board meeting for August 18th, 2020. Attendees tonight include the Board of Education members, our Superintendent, Mr. Kevin Booth, Business Manager, Mr. Albert Malone, Solicitor, Attorney Samuel Falcone. Also attending are members of the District Administrative Team and our Board Secretary, Mrs. Claire Ellen Hopple. Mrs. Hopple will be available to field questions for those attending via the live stream, available from the Pittston Area School District website. Those of you attending live, please note there is a link available on the website to download and view tonight's agenda. The agenda will not be shown during the live stream, so we can focus on the board members as they present the agenda. At any point in time during the meeting, you can direct questions by emailing Mrs. Hopple at clarellen.hopple@pittstonarea.com. Mrs. Hopple's email address can also be found on the homepage of the Pittston Area School District website, www.pittstonarea.com. I would like to start the meeting showcasing our fourth grade teachers as they present the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join in with them.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
Yes.
At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to our board president, Dr. Frank Serino. Thank you.
Sure he's not muted, Kevin?
Christy, you want to unmute Dr. Serino?
Good evening. Sorry for the delay. I had to get my granddaughter to save the day here. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Hello.
You can continue, Dr. Serino.
Can you hear me?
Yep. We got you.
Oh, okay. At this point, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Ednesio,
Present.
Dr. Cooper,
Here.
Mr. Crawford,
Here.
Mr. Knick,
Here.
Mr. Lawler,
Here.
Mr. Quinn,
Here.
Ms. Ricotta,
Here.
Mr. Salvo,
Here.
Dr. Sereno.
Here. I'd like to now have the superintendent present his agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Sereno. I would like to begin this evening by going over some changes to our school reopening plan from the plan that we presented at the last board meeting a few weeks ago. The board has been meeting regularly and discussing the options for a safe return to school. We have been looking, taking guidance from the governor's office. And at this point, Luzerne County is listed as a county that is in a moderate level of community transmission. With that being said, the recommendation from the Department of Education and from the governor's office is that we should begin school in either a blended learning model or a full remote learning model. The board members and I and my administration and stakeholders involved have been meeting regularly, and the decision to now move to a full virtual learning platform has been a very difficult one, but one that we feel will present our staff and our students with the safest return to school for the first quarter, and will provide our students with a sound academic plan as we continue through the pandemic. So for the beginning of the school year on September 9th, all students K through 12 will be enlisted into the Pittston area Cyber Academy. That's all students will remain in the Cyber Academy for the first quarter. Last month, I presented to everyone what the Cyber Academy will entail, and I'll just briefly go through some of the highlights and add in some of the questions that have already come through. At the Pittston area Cyber Academy, all students K-12 will be receiving a Chromebook. Pittston area faculty will be delivering the instruction live using Microsoft Teams. The Pittston area curriculum will be followed and presented synchronously. We expect that the day would move exactly as if students were in school. Students will get a schedule with each period of their day, and students will move again through their schedule as if they are here in school, but they will be learning remotely. We will be using the Schoology online learning platform to coordinate all of our resources. It should be one-stop shopping for our students and for our parents. The teachers will then have resources loaded into the Schoology platform that they will use in their daily lessons. We understand that certain individuals will have difficulty being at their computer at scheduled times, in which case the live sessions will be recorded for students who are unable to view them at the scheduled times. In order to be marked present for the day, the student must log in at some point during the day and will have until the end of that day to complete their assignment, unless otherwise directed by the teacher. The faculty will be available at multiple times during the week for assistance. There will be study hall time that will be built in where students will be able to send questions, and there will be times during the week that teachers will be able to reach out to their students. Students can make appointments to meet with their teachers virtually. Some of the questions that have come up We will continue to serve breakfast and lunch to all of our students. They will be available for pickup at their building each day. Parents of our special education students, I know, are very concerned about the move to a virtual platform, but I can tell you that parents will receive comprehensive information directly from our special education office regarding the implementation of our current education plan as it relates to the students' IEP provisions. Students will receive progress monitoring on their current IEP goals, and regular and special education teachers will collaborate regularly to ensure specially designed instruction is implemented to meet the needs of the child. We anticipate being in this Pittston Area Cyber Academy for the first quarter. As we continue and the pandemic continues to evolve and we see things are changing for the better, we feel we can easily then move to either the hybrid model that we had presented earlier or a full back to school model. Some of the concerns that myself and the board members have had in looking at schools and universities that have opened already and the amount of transmission of the virus between students. The University of North Carolina, I believe, shut down and went full virtual yesterday. Several other school districts in Georgia that have opened have 800 to 1,200 students in staff in quarantine. And it was not a situation that we were looking forward to here at Pittston area. Not saying that would have happened, but in looking at the different areas of the country that have already reopened and the issues that they're having, we felt it was best for the students and staff to begin the year virtually. So the board this evening will be voting to approve our revised safety plan and our revised back to school plan. With that said, I will go into our regular agenda. Under communications, there are C1, the communication received from the Luzerne Intermediate Unit number 18, enclosing copies of their meeting held June 17th, 2020. C2, the application for permit to use school facilities during the month of August be ratified and approved. Under finance, F1, that the debt service payment due September 15th, 2020 for the general obligation bond series 2015 payable to Bankers Trust be approved as follows. Series of 2015 in the amount of $272,122.50. F2, that the response and corrective action plan to the Auditor General report for the school years July 1, 2014 through June 30th, 2018 be acknowledged as approved, forwarded to the Pennsylvania Department of Education and placed on file. F3, that the Management Advisory Services Agreement detailing business consulting services to be provided by Albert B. Malone Company, certified public accountants, be extended for the period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2025. The extended agreement and its terms are effective upon final review by the district solicitor. F4, that an addendum to the Management Advisory Services Agreement with Albert B. Malone Company, certified public accountants, be made in order to provide for an additional service known as treasury function. This function provides for additional compensation of $1,700 per month. This addendum and its terms are effective August 18th, 2020 through August 17th, 2022, subject to final review by the district solicitor. F5, that a motion authorizing the adoption of resolutions by the Board of School Directors of Pittston Area School District certifying a certain area of Jenkins Township, Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, known as Industrial Distribution Center, as described as a deteriorated and blighted area under the Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance Act and the Urban Redevelopment Law, and providing for a temporary exemption of real estate property tax for a specific time period approved as per following the resolution. F6, that the resolution presented by the Wilkes-Barre Career and Technical Center refunding project be acknowledged as received, approved, signed, and placed on file. Under general, G1, that permission be granted upon the approval of superintendent for student teachers from various colleges to do their student teaching in our district during the 2020-2021 school year. G2, that any senior citizen 62 or older of the district, upon proper identification, be admitted to any school district activity during the 2020-21 school year free of charge. G3, that the respective PTO groups be given permission to conduct their meetings in various schools during the 2020-2021 school year. G4, that the agreement with Lackawanna College for dual enrollment for 2020-2021 school year be acknowledged as received, approved, and placed on file. G5, that the agreement with the Luzerne Intermediate Unit for English Language Development Instruction for 2020-21 school year be acknowledged as received, approved, and placed on file. G6, that the letter of agreement for Title I services between Pittston Area School District and Wyoming Area School District for 2021 school year be acknowledged as received, approved, and placed on file. G7, that the memorandum of understanding between the Pittston Area Federation of Teachers Local 1590 and the Pittston Area School District regarding STEM letter of endorsement being offered to teachers at Pittston Area School District through Wilkes University, that be approved and placed on file. G8, that the contingent fee retainer agreement between Socher, Federico, and Staten, PA, and Pittston Area School District for legal representation in connection with claims for damages arising out of the manufacture, marketing, distribution, and sale of electronic cigarettes be approved, and that the proper officers be authorized to execute such documents and other such documents required to pursue said claims. G9, that the agreement with Children's Service Center for partial and therapeutic educational agreements for the 2020-21 school year be acknowledged as received, approved, and placed on file. G10, that the memorandum of understanding with the United Way of Wyoming Valley Community Impact Initiatives 2020-2021 school year be acknowledged as received, approved, and placed on file. That the revised Pittston Area School Board Policy number 335, Family and Medical Leaves, be approved and placed on file. G12, that the revised Pennsylvania Department of Education Phased School Reopening Health and Safety Plan be approved and placed on file. G13, I ask that the board adopt an interim motion that will be effective August 14th, 2020 until the Pittston Area School Board adopts a comprehensive policy. The district shall comply with and implement all requirements to the Title IX regulations. 2, any existing policies or practices that are inconsistent with or in violation of any of the requirements, terms, or conditions of the Title IX regulation are hereby superseded effective August 14th, 2020. The superintendent hereby has the power and authority regarding Title IX. B1, under bids, that the secretary be authorized to advertise for offers for the sale of copy machines. Offers to be open Thursday, September 10th, 2020 at 11 a.m. in the boardroom of the senior high school. B2, that the request for proposal for auditor for the 1920 and 2021 school year be named and approved. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kevin. Now, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
We did that already. We need to go to new business, Doc.
I'm sorry. Any new business from the board? From the audience?
I
Is there
do have a
anything
few
in
questions from the
communication?
audience. If I could go through the public input portion. We had a question from a Mrs. Bonnie Groschel. If the school year goes virtual, how would my child receive speech and work with his IEP teacher. Again, as I mentioned, all parents of our special education students will receive comprehensive information directly from the special education department regarding the implementation of their current educational plan and as it relates to their IEP, so that you will be contacted shortly. I have an email from Ms. Christine Barron, who would like the board to reconsider their decision of going to full virtual. Another question from Ms. Trish Colleran about the plans for the Wilkes-Barre VOTEC. We are currently working with the CTC and their plan. And she had a question if busing would be provided. It will be provided. Busing will be provided to the CTC if the CTC does have in-person instruction. Mrs. Brittany Mercallo had a question about the dress code. With our full virtual learning platform, there will be no changes to the dress code, but we will be giving out certain expectations for appropriate dress while students are in the virtual model. Will the SAT be administered at Pittston Area High School? As of right now, yes. We're still in discussions with college boards on that, but as of today, yes. Students will be going to the CTC. That is a question from Brianna Hill. And our grading system, this is Don Busey. The grading system will be exactly as it was as if we were in school. We expect the virtual schooling to mirror as closely as we can to a regular school. And again, Mrs. Dudek, I did speak to students, and we will follow all the plans that are currently in place. That's all I have right now.
Okay, we'll proceed. The board met Thursday, August 13, 2020 at 6 p.m., Monday, August 17, 2020, and this evening at 5 p.m. for the purpose of discussing personnel. I'd like a motion to approve minutes of the meetings. Roll call. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Ednesio? Mr. Ednesio?
Mr. Nizio, you're muted.
Dr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford? Mr. Ednesio? Mr. Ednesio? Mr. Crawford? Mr. Knick? Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn? Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo? Dr. Serino?
Yes.
Mr. Ednesio?
Looks like they're on. Call them again.
Mr. Ednesio? Mr. Crawford? Mr. Knick. Mr. Quinn. Mr. Salvo.
We may be having connection issues. We might want to take 2 seconds here to find out what the connection issue is for.
This is Mr. Anisio. Do you hear me?
Yes,
We got
thank
you now.
Mr. Ednizio. Mr.
Yes, we might be
Crawford?
having problems.
Mr. Crawford? Mr. Knick? Mr. Quinn?
They must be on.
Mr. Quinn? Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Crawford, I need. Mr. Knick?
Kevin, it's a little unorthodox, but I have Mr. Crawford here on my speaker. He's ready to vote.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick? And Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to mute you guys. Can you hear the meeting at least?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear.
All right, Dr. Serino, ready to move to communication.
I'd like to entertain a motion that C1 and C2 be accepted as so read and so presented. Motion.
Motion, Mr. Knick.
Thank you.
Second, Mr. Lawler.
Thank you. Mr. Ednizio?
Roll call.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper, Dr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Dr. Serino?
Yes. A motion that finance F1, F4 be accepted and approved.
Mr. Anisio.
Mr. Knick was first, Mr. Anisio second.
Thank you. Mr. Ednizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Dr. Serino?
Yes. A motion that finance F5 be accepted and approved as so presented.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Ednizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Serino?
Yes. A motion that finance F6 be accepted and approved as so presented. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Ednizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Dr. Serino?
Yes. A motion to accept G1 through G12 as so presented. Motion.
Motion?
Motion.
Who seconded?
Motion, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Ednesio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes, but abstain on G7, please.
thank you. Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. A motion to accept G13 and approve as so presented. Motion?
Motion.
Second, Mr. Salvo.
Thank you. Mr. Ednesio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. A motion to accept as presented B1.
Motion. Hardy.
Second.
Second, Mr. Lawler.
Thank you. Mr. Ednesio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Okay. Yeah, shut up.
Mr.
Yes.
Quinn, Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Under B2, that the request for proposal for auditor for the 2019-2020 and 2020-21 school year received from Joseph R. Alessini and Company be approved. Motion?
Mr. Anisio, motion.
Crawford, second.
Thank you. Mr. Ednesio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. A motion to accept P1 through P5 and approve. Motion.
Motion.
Second, Crawford.
Thank you. Mr. Ednesio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. P6, that upon the administrative recommendation, Nicole Musto be appointed to the position of school nurse, salary and benefits as per contractual agreement. Motion?
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Connect.
Second, Mr. Lawler.
Thank you. Mr. Ednesio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Case 7, a motion to authorize the proper officers of the Pittston Area School District to execute the employment agreement between the Board of School Directors and the Pittston Area School District and Kevin Booth, District Superintendent, extending the term from January 26, 2021 to January 25, 2026. Motion?
Motion, Mr. Quinn. Second, Crawford.
Thank you. Mr. Ednesio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Yes. And congratulations, Kevin. Pleasure working with you, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all.
Motion that FB1 through FB6 be accepted and approved.
Mr. Anisio, motion. Mr. Salvo, second.
Thank you. Mr. Ednesio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Dr. Sereno.
Any new business from the board? If not, we'll take public input, Doug. Any
Yes,
public input?
Yes, I have two. But before that, I would just like to thank the board members for the confidence in renewing my contract for another 5 years. I can't believe that 5 years has gone by this quickly. It's been quite a whirlwind the last 5 years, and especially the last 5 months. I just enjoy working with this Board of Education and doing what's best for the students of the Pittston Area School District. So once again, I would like to publicly thank the board for their extension of my contract and their confidence in my abilities. Thank you very much. I have a question from Victoria Hartsgrove. Just making sure that the kids that cannot watch the live session, they will be able to view it afterwards. Yes, they will. And a question from Mr. Hurt. Will sports for the first semester be postponed? The PIAA is currently scheduled to meet on Friday to put out their recommendations for sports for the first half of the year for the fall. We're going to wait for their recommendations. The fall sports season doesn't officially begin until Monday. So with that being said, they will, once the verdict comes down from the PIAA, the board will meet and we'll make a decision on sports based on the PIAA guidance. If the board doesn't feel comfortable with PIAA guidance, they are inclined to make their own decisions as far as that is concerned. His second part of his question, will real estate taxes be reduced for the first semester? I don't believe that's a possibility at this time. I don't know if Mr. Malone could comment on that. Mr. Malone is still on. I don't see him. But as we continue through the year and evaluate what's going on, and see how our spending and you know the economics of the area continues to evolve, I'm sure there'll be decisions with real estate taxes moving forward. But as far as the first semester, I don't foresee that happening. Oh, I have one more just came in. The question is coming in about internet. The district will be providing hotspot internet access to any student that does not have them. We are also working with internet providers to provide either free or very low cost internet service. So we were doing everything we can to make sure every student is connected and ready to learn in the virtual world. That is it for me.
Say the motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
you.
Thank
Aye,
you.
matey. We were supposed to adjourn. Thank you, Kevin. Congratulations.